So you might start to ask yourself, well, does the conduit need to be in a metal raceway? And the answer is, not always. DC inside a building needs to be in a metal raceway. Um, these, I guess you would call them raceways. Sometimes they're required to be metal and not. Often these, they look like maybe plastic little hooks, but they are just simply coated metal hooks. Well, what you have to remember is that PV wire solar cable is rated to go outside of conduit. It's a little bit thicker than regular cable. The cable jacket itself is thicker. And if you're just trying to put PV wire directly into conduit, that thicker cable jacket, from a theoretical perspective, it could result in trapping more heat inside the cable, and you put it inside the conduit, and now it's heating up all the more. From a realistic standpoint, if you do solar cable into, say, EMT conduit, and you're sizing that EMT conduit for THWN standard, wet condition cable inside of conduit, well, the PV jacket might be thicker than that. So if you're used to putting, 6 or 7 cables into 3/4 inch EMT conduit, the same gauge with PV cable might not fit. Now, PV cable. Do you have to use PV cable? And the answer is no. There's other cables that are out there that you can use. So the common one is tray cable. Tray cable preceded solar cable. It's used for other purposes, not just solar. Now, why would you use tray cable instead of solar cable? Well, solar cable is designed for utility scale projects at high voltage, 1500 volts, 2000 volts as a common cable jacket rating. Tray cable is only rated for 600 volts. Remember that voltage thickness is the skin of a water balloon. The thicker the skin, the higher the voltage it can contain without popping. And so TC tray cable, the 600-volt rating, you can get it with an outdoor exposure to sunlight rating. So you can get weatherproof, suitable for rooftop condition, high temperature, exposed to sun, 600-volt tray cable. Maybe slightly cheaper than the next step up, which would be the 1500 to 2000-volt PV wire. I would recommend using PV wire anyway, and the reason is the cable jacket, when you're pulling it, through the array, while you should not be doing this, while it would be a bad work practice to be pulling the solar cable along where it could scrape along some of this metal and coat some of the jacket off. You have to remember, when you're buying the PV cable, you're paying for that thicker jacket. So it's a little bit more forgiving in your installation than standard tray cable or THWN for that matter.